heartbreaking news and disappointing news for Europe and for Viktor Hovland, because he is unable to play in today's Sunday singles.
Yeah, I mean, it was 25% of the points they needed to win, and nothing against Viktor. I'm sure he's hurt and everything, but that rule has to change, obviously.
Bethpage Black was supposed to end with cheers, but instead it ended with whispers. What should have been a celebration of birdies and pressure-packed putts turned into something far stranger, a rules controversy no one in golf saw coming. In the middle of it all was Viktor Hovland and the infamous envelope ruling, a rarely used Ryder Cup provision that suddenly took center stage. And when Team USA's captain stepped up to the mic, his statement only added fuel to the fire. So what exactly did he say? Let's get into it. Bethpage Black, September 26 to 28, 2025. The US was hoping to rewrite the history books, clawing back from Europe's early dominance. Instead, Sunday delivered a curveball that felt scripted by a rules lawyer. The Ryder Cup ended 15-13 in Europe's favor, but the scoreboard alone can't explain the chaos. On Saturday night, whispers began. Viktor Hovland, one of Europe's steadiest performers, had been nursing a neck issue all week. By dawn Sunday, it wasn't whispers, it was breaking news. Hovland was officially withdrawn from his singles match against Harris English, a gaping hole in the lineup. But instead of reshuffling the matches or letting English feast on a free point, the Ryder Cup's bizarre envelope rule was triggered. That rule, known to maybe 12 superfans and a few referees, meant one match evaporated into thin air. Each side got half a point. No golf was played. Just like that, the US comeback attempt lost a live match before a single putt was struck. The atmosphere at Bethpage was already electric, and now it turned nuclear. Fans booed. Commentators scrambled to explain a rule that sounded like fine print from a cell phone contract, and suddenly every shot on Sunday carried the heavy stench of controversy. The Americans still surged, winning several late matches, but the missing duel between English and Hovland loomed like a ghost. That half point wasn't just arithmetic, it was destiny bending the Ryder Cup in Europe's favor. Be honest, should Harris English have gotten the full point, or was the envelope rule the fairest outcome? Drop your take below, because golf fans are split right down the middle. Viktor Hovland's injury wasn't cinematic. No dramatic collapse on the fairway, no tragic limp off the 18th green. Instead, it was quieter, more frustrating. By Saturday evening, reports swirled of recurring neck pain. Medical staff examined him, and by Sunday morning the decision was official. Hovland was out. The Ryder Cup issued a short, sterile statement citing a flare-up of a chronic disc bulge. The announcement landed like a bomb. For Europe, it meant losing one of their most reliable grinders. For the United States, it meant Harris English, ready, rested, and eager for a point, never got the chance to swing a club. The fans? They were furious, confused, and already suspicious of every ruling. To his credit, Hovland addressed the issue directly. His statement, delivered with calm disappointment, emphasized both regret and responsibility. He said he desperately wanted to compete, but the medical call was out of his hands. He pledged to support his team from the sidelines. It was humble, human, and it immediately undercut the wilder conspiracy theories bubbling online. But the damage was done. In an event defined by raw emotion, Hovland's withdrawal became the pivot point of the narrative. Was this bad luck? A fair application of the rules? Or a loophole that gifted Europe an unearned advantage? For the millions watching worldwide, Hovland's polite apology didn't soothe the sting, it magnified it. The Ryder Cup, already infamous for fan heckling and captain mind games, suddenly felt more like courtroom drama than sporting theater. And Hovland? He became the unlikely face of a controversy he didn't ask for.
Pull out of yesterday's afternoon session with a neck injury.
Now let's talk about the rule. The obscure, dusty mechanism that transformed a medical withdrawal into a full-blown scandal. It's called the envelope rule, and no, it has nothing to do with sealed secrets or spycraft. Here's how it works. Before Sunday singles, each captain secretly places one player's name in an envelope. If the opposing team suffers a withdrawal, that player is benched, and the scheduled match is recorded as halved. Both teams get half a point, and no golf is played. Sounds simple on paper. In reality, it's chaos. The rule is so rarely triggered that most fans had no idea it existed. At Bethpage, it took Harris English, perfectly healthy, raring to go, and shoved him into irrelevance. His singles duel with Hovland vanished, replaced by a bureaucratic half-point. Critics exploded. Why not allow a substitute? Why not award the point? In every other sport, an injured player is replaced. Yet in golf's ultimate team event, the rule insists on removing an entire contest from the board. Keegan Bradley, the US captain, wasn't shy. This robbed his team of momentum. That half-point, he argued, could have swung the tide of a furious Sunday comeback. But Europe pushed back. Luke Donald, calm and diplomatic, pointed out the rule has precedent. It exists to provide certainty and to prevent endless debate over substitutions. Predictability, he argued, is the only fairness. Still, in a Ryder Cup defined by crowd fury, heated exchanges, and nationalism disguised as sportsmanship, the envelope rule was the ultimate villain, invisible until it wasn't, decisive when it mattered most.
Yeah, I mean, it was 25% of the points they needed to win, and nothing against Viktor. I'm sure he's hurt and everything, but that rule has to change.
If the Ryder Cup was already smoldering, Keegan Bradley poured gasoline on it. Standing in front of the world's media after Europe's 15-13 win, the US captain didn't hide behind cliches or platitudes. Instead, he dropped the line that immediately ricocheted across every sports desk and social feed. It has to change. He wasn't talking about strategy. He wasn't talking about execution. He was targeting the envelope rule itself. Bradley argued that denying Harris English the chance to compete, while handing Europe a safe half-point, was a miscarriage of competitive fairness. He admitted he had a few ideas on how to fix it, but didn't share them in the heat of the press conference. The outrage was deliberate, the frustration raw. Bradley essentially reframed the narrative. America hadn't simply been beaten, they'd been handcuffed by bureaucracy. Within minutes, clips of his statement flooded Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, with US fans cheering his candor and Europeans mocking it as sour grapes. Golf captains almost never call for immediate rules changes. That's supposed to happen quietly, behind closed doors, years after the fact. But Bradley's public blast ripped the conversation wide open. The Ryder Cup wasn't closing with champagne and hugs. It was closing with an open challenge to golf's governing bodies. And the irony? That one blunt line, "It has to change," may end up defining Bethpage even more than the final putt. If you were running the Ryder Cup, would you scrap the envelope rule or keep it for consistency? Let me know in the comments, and make sure you subscribe, because this debate isn't ending anytime soon.
Keegan was in here a few minutes ago saying that he disagreed with the injury rule that impacted Viktor and Harris and said that it should be changed by the next Ryder Cup. I wanted to get your thoughts, not on how it impacted today, but just on the rule in general.
I think it's been in place since 1971. The US have used it before. I think it's happened in 1991.
Across the aisle, Europe's captain Luke Donald delivered the kind of response that felt like the perfect counterpoint. Calm, measured, and almost maddeningly unbothered. While Bradley fumed about fairness, Donald reminded everyone that the envelope rule wasn't invented yesterday. It's been on the books for decades, invoked on rare occasions, and agreed to by both sides before the competition began. He expressed sympathy for Hovland's situation and acknowledged the disappointment for Harris English, but he refused to indulge in outrage. The rules were the rules. Europe hadn't exploited anything. They had simply played under the same conditions as the Americans. European players echoed the sentiment, stressing that no one wanted to see Hovland sidelined, but that the procedure provided clarity in a messy scenario. Pundits on Sky Sports and Golf Channel backed up Donald's framing, pointing out that altering the rule midstream would be chaotic and that consistency, however unsatisfying, was essential. But if Donald thought his calm tone would quiet the storm, he underestimated the transatlantic fury brewing online. Fans weren't just dissecting the match, they were accusing each other of bias, corruption, and even conspiracy. US commentators highlighted the denied opportunity, while Europeans trolled them for crying foul. In the clash of captains, Bradley brought the fire and Donald brought the ice. And just like that, the Ryder Cup's postscript became less about golf and more about political theater, a shouting match about whose interpretation of fairness should rule the future. The Ryder Cup doesn't just end when the final putt drops. It lives on in debates, in reforms, and in reputations. And Bethpage's 2025 edition left behind a legacy far messier than a narrow 15-13 scoreboard. Practically, Keegan Bradley's public demand guarantees that the envelope rule will land on the desk of golf's decision-makers. Expect PGA of America, DP World Tour, and Ryder Cup committees to wrestle with possible reforms. Should there be a reserve player ready to step in? Should the forfeited point go directly to the opponent? Or should the envelope rule be scrapped entirely? Whatever the solution, the process will drag on for months, if not years, with the next Cup in Ireland, September 2027, Adair Manor, serving as the unofficial deadline. Reputationally, the 45th Ryder Cup will be remembered for two things: the raucous, sometimes hostile crowd at Bethpage, and the technical half-point that changed the calculus of Sunday. Instead of celebrating Europe's gritty retention of the Cup, headlines are fixated on governance debates and Bradley's fiery press conference. For Viktor Hovland, the story is more personal. Official updates confirm a conservative recovery plan for his recurring neck issue. No surgery announced, no retirement looming, just rest and rehab. Yet his name is now forever tied to the envelope incident, even though he handled it with dignity and restraint. The Ryder Cup thrives on drama, but Bethpage handed us a new kind. Not just shots and shouts, but rules and reforms. The game itself may never look at the envelope the same way again. So when Ireland 2027 rolls around, do you think the rulebook will look the same, or will Bethpage force change? Comment your prediction, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you're here when the next chapter hits.